Hello, everyone. So I'm going to be filming this video right now. It's a little reaction video to this video made by Paul Chek. I watched this ages ago. It's called Slow Death by Meat, and it's just about Paul Chek's thoughts on meat. I've watched this many times at many different stages in my life. I'm eating a ribeye right now, so I'm eating a ribeye while Paul Chek tells me my meat's going to kill me. And I'm going to tell you guys like what I think about this because I think he makes a lot of good points, but I ultimately disagree with I don't know. I would say ultimately disagree or ultimately agree with him. I think we just have different perspectives. But I don't know. Let's talk about how to mitigate some of the things that he points out in this video. Let's see what he's even going to point out in the video. I'm going to enjoy my ribeye while we do this because I think it's kind of poetic, and that's like a thing that's popular on YouTube nowadays is people watching people eat for some reason. Like sound like that meme of the kid who was raised by his grandparents. uh, chopping it up. I like to cut it all up into little pieces before I eat it. Let's get to business, guys. Slow death by meat. What do you guys say, Paul? Check. Chalpeck.
Hello, this is Paul Chek. Welcome to my video blog. Today our topic is slow death by meat. Hey, I'm a meat lover too, so don't get me wrong. I'm not trying to say go vegetarian or vegan or go crazy or become a fanatic. But I am saying there's some real concerns about eating meat in general and eating too much meat no matter how good it is. So to begin, I wanted to point out that you can learn how to fine-tune your diet based on what I call your primal pattern type, which is...
Oh, one thing I want to say is that, like, people have been warning about the consumption of too much meat since forever, and yet there are tribes of people that only eat meat. The Eskimos only eat meat. And the ultimate reason for this, I believe, is revealed in William Wolcott's book, The Metabolic Typing Diet, where he talks about how you have carbo types, you have protein types, you have mixed types, and how people shift between these different metabolic types for a variety of reasons, but you also just have a general metabolic type. So I think there are people who probably benefit from eating less meat, and I also think that those people have historically been the ones to write all the health books simply because it's very hard to get access to enough meat to eat, enough meat to feel good if you were a peasant.
My simplified version of metabolic typing. And
He talks about that
remember,
too.
the suggestions for the different types are starting points. I show a diagram in there called the tachometer diagram that shows you how to fine-tune your meals and your meal proportions based on optimal response to a meal versus showing you common negative responses to too much carbohydrate or too much flesh foods. So start right there. There's also an audio of a presentation I give called Primal Pattern Eating, where I give you some very, very helpful tips on how to fine-tune the ratio of animal foods to plant foods and how to choose things that your body wants and get confirmation from your body or the consciousness within you or through muscle testing. So many people have found that kind of coaching extremely helpful. So if you want some deeper solutions than I can offer in this short little blog, go there. ChekInstitute.com, CHEK Institute.com. How to Eat, Move, and Be Healthy is there, or on Amazon.com. So today I want to share a few of my concerns about meat in general and about eating too much meat, which is extremely common, particularly in the Western culture. Some of the things we should consider about meat. First of all, meat that is commercially farmed is very well known to be and quite famous amongst those that are health experts and people that study this stuff like myself for being injected. The animals are injected with antibiotics, veterinary drugs, and steroids.
Wait till you find out what's in the grains and the vegetables and everything that they absorb from the ground. I actually think meat, that's a kind of a false objection in some sense. I mean, yeah, you should be getting higher quality organic grass-fed meat, but like this is not a grass-fed ribeye. They feel great eating these. And cows have livers and stuff, like they can filter out a lot of toxins in their body. I mean, we all need some help with that because there's a lot of toxins. But like you're going to avoid toxins by not eating meat is absolutely insane. Because also meat is not directly sprayed with pesticides. And the idea of like, oh, it accumulates all the pesticides. I don't know. When I was on carnivore and I only ate meat for like 2.5 years, if I ate a non-organic apple or an organic apple, I'd have a reaction, but I wouldn't react to meat. So that tells me that there's stuff in meat that's less toxic than the stuff in the plants. And that's been my general experience.
One of the very, very strong conclusions about the antibiotic resistance problems we're having in hospitals all over the world now is that it's because the same basic antibiotics that are used for people are used for animals, and we're getting overexposed to those drugs through the food, through the meat we're eating. So that's one concern. Another concern is that these animals are given steroids to cause rapid muscle gains. A commercially raised animal, a commercially raised cow, for example, or steer, reaches slaughter in 1 year, or maturity for slaughter in 1 year, and on average, if you raise it normally, it takes about 4 years. So it's a lot faster. Now, I'm just remembering those facts from a long time ago, but even if I'm wrong, the steroids speed the rate at which that thing puts on muscle mass and how much it eats very, very quickly. Other things is that one thing that people don't often pay attention to is the fact that the drug companies that make the drugs for animals.
You got some steak? Keep your clothes on though. This is my 2-year-old daughter. She used to come by. Here's a little bite. Then go play with Adam.
Are the same companies that make them for humans, and in many ways there are drugs used for animals that are the same drugs that are used for humans. So not only are we getting overexposed to these things through the meat, but it creates a high level of toxicity in the animals, and it is also potentially problematic because if your immune system starts to react to drugs coming into your body through meat, then your body can then have unfavorable reactions or no reaction at all when you actually may need that drug from a physician. So those are important considerations.
I think there's a lot of fear mongering. I really like Paul Chek and I really respect Paul Chek. And Paul Chek he's given me so much. Like, I can't say anything negative about Paul Chek. But I will say I think he muddies the water to make it appear deep. I think the waters are deep, but I think that there's like he just raises all the concerns to show you that like, oh, here's all this stuff you haven't thought of yet, but like the odds that any one of these things is going to be messing up your health at any given point in time is probably low. But I mean, again, he's making the video for people. Go, April, go.
Now, most people aren't aware of this, but if you study what's allowed or what
like
is,
there's like you know what I mean, like I could, like I said, like you were to hire me as like your private health coach for insane amounts of money, then like I could go through and like analyze the feng shui of your house, and like maybe I will even, but the odds that the feng shui of your house are what's causing your problems are low. Like, yes, all these things matter, but is it the most important thing? 'Cause if it's not the most important thing, it's not what you should be focusing on, because if you just take care of the most important thing, your body will take care of the rest, and then you'll just feel really good.
is
Or that'll like help you feel better than if you did anything else. Like, I'll just let
acceptable by most government agencies, you will find that commercially raised animals have been fed and are in many cases approved to be fed such things as sawdust, plastic chips, sewage, engine oil, dead animal remains, poor quality grains. Most of these grains are either not saleable to human beings because they have high levels of fungal mycotoxins in them, which makes them dangerous to eat for human consumption. So when grain producers have a lot of grain that they can't sell for human consumption, they're sold to feedlots, and then those animals are eating very poor quality grains full of mycotoxins.
Yeah, but like when you look at when you look at like what people eat around the world, like in some sense, like, I get his scrutiny. Like the dude grew up on like an organic farm, basically, so he has a certain perspective that I'm kind of like the opposite of Paul Chek in some ways. Like he grew up on an organic farm, eating perfectly. I grew up in the heart of Babylon, eating not the heart of Babylon, but I grew up like in a more commercial area, not even that commercial, but more like not like a farm, eating conventional food. And my perspective is just different than his perspective. Like his perspective, in some sense, is like I don't know. Like I feel like in some sense, almost to use Paul Chek's advice, I would have to like be Paul Chek and have access to his resources because he's like, well, first we have to start with everything being organic, planted at like the exact proper. Like there are people in Haiti who are eating dirt because they have no food. Like if you're sick because you're eating processed conventional nonsense and then you go get yourself a ribeye, you're going to feel amazing. Now, I think this video might be useful to someone who's been only eating conventional ribeye for 40 years, feels otherwise good, but is noticing some issues. Like, maybe I should increase the quality of my meat or consider these things. But like, if you're not eating exclusively ribeye, you haven't done a carnivore diet for a period of time, like at least a year, none of this is even relevant to you because your food quality is already so far below meat, whatever the issues are with it, that you would just benefit from going on carnivore, most likely.
which gets trapped in their body. And remember, the body of an animal stores, just like you, stores toxins in fat that it can't process. But the animal producers, the meat producers, the ranchers don't care because they sell the animals by the pound and no one does body fat checks on these animals. So the bigger they get and the fatter they get, regardless of how you do it, the more they weigh, the more money they can make off their product.
Here's another perspective. When I eat a really fatty ribeye, my cells work and my mitochondria work, and my body has energy. And then I can take chlorella and I can drink green tea and other things that will detox my body. So, yes, while I am getting exposed to toxins through meat and through the air I breathe and through all the non-meat foods I eat and through the water I like through everything, like everything is toxins. I can take Adderall. There's toxins in that. Everything is toxins. So we have to mitigate this stuff. So I take chlorella, I drink green tea, I do fasting. I'm kind of nuts about the food quality, water quality I consume. But yeah, I mean, like, yeah, it's real. Like, yeah, there is toxins stored in fat. Totally. Am I eating them? Yeah. Do I feel better eating them than I did when I wasn't eating them because I was eating more fruits, vegetables, still like organic, good quality food, but just not ribeye? Yeah, I feel better eating ribeye, even though it's got all these toxins. It's like, do I notice that my body starts to have toxic issues? Yeah, maybe. But I just drink green tea, I take chlorella, and it goes away. It's like the fidgetiness. Like, I think the fidgetiness, like just like all that, that's kind of like toxicity. So I take chlorella and it just goes away. It's pretty awesome. Uh, let's keep learning from Paul Chek.
So it's a pretty dangerous game going on. Okay. Also, my experience in coaching untold numbers of people with health problems is that if a person's gluten sensitive, they often have reactions to eating meats that were fed a lot of grains that are gluten containing grains. So anybody that's been
Nope, never seen that. Um, well, I mean, it could be possible, but never seen it. Even Michaela Peterson, who's like the most reactive person ever, doesn't. Oh, this is actually. I don't know it. Oh my God. Talk with my mouth full. It's because I think I'm just watching a video, but I'm actually talking to people.
on a gluten-free diet, a gluten-free diet or an antifungal diet for any length of time, but seems like they're not having a good response, try cutting out any flesh foods that have been fed any kind of grain, and oftentimes that is.
Oh my God. How am I going to do that, Paul? It's like $30 a pound for grass-fed ribeye. Like I'm just gonna. How are normal people going to do that?
Is the missing
I mean,
element.
maybe he's right though. Like maybe he's right. Like maybe I think that like yeah, higher quality meat is definitely going to make me feel better. It's gonna make everyone feel better. But like I think there's just other ways of thinking about it beyond this. Like I need the nutrients in meat and the benefits I get from eating meat. Maybe he doesn't because he's just so effing healthy from his life that like he just doesn't need that. But I feel like if you're started like I don't know. I just feel like this advice is not particularly relevant. I'm just reacting. I've seen this video a lot, but again, I'm watching this and I've watched this video points and I'm like, oh, I should do that. And I cut out all the meat from my diet, and then I feel like I'm dying, and I'm like, maybe I'll just go back to eating conventional ribeyes, and then I do, and then I feel amazing.
That
Listen to your
can make
body,
a big
folks.
difference in your life. Unethical farming practices is also a big concern with this. Remember, every dollar you spend on this, you're funding unethical farming practices. These animals are often raised in very tight quarters, stand and live and eat in their own urine and feces. So imagine what.
A lot of them aren't though, and this is like a lot of like fear mongering. Like I've seen farms, like for the most part, they take really good care of the animals because the animals are expensive, and if they're standing in their own poop, they'll get sick and die. I mean, but like, what do you mean standing in your own poop though? Like, you guys been to a horse barn? Again, this is kind of yeah. Don't put those in your mouth, April. Yeah, don't do it again, or I'm gonna have to spank you. It's dangerous and it'll make you choke and die. Don't do it. You can hold it, but just don't put them in your mouth. You can clean them in the sink, not in your mouth. There's these little necklaces. I know I was playing with. What? I'll clean a sink in a bit. You can come sit next to me if you want. Okay. She's wonderful. So where were we on this? Yeah, like cutting out all the meat, conventional. Let's just get back.
What your life would be like and what kind of an emotional state that animal would be in.
Oh yeah, yeah. Like you've been to a horse farm. Like they're all standing in their shit. They're cattle. They don't care. Like a high quality horse barn, they just poop in the stable, and then they walk around in it. Like I don't really know what his point is. I think this is a lot of fear mongering. I notice there's a lot of people like, ooh, like what they make people question that meat is actually good for them so that they then stop eating meat and then they feel worse and then they think that they need health coaching. Could be.
And remember, emotions are a form of energy, and those types of vibrations can and
Yeah, it's a dead cow. I'm eating dead cow, but I feel alive. Remember, Paul Chek, the life of an animal. All right, go pee in the little potty. No, no, April, little potty. You just peed your okay. Little potty, April. That's it, little potty. So, yeah, like the Bible says that the life of an animal is stored in the animal's fat and in its blood. So shouldn't we just be eating fat and drinking blood, Paul? Remember that, Paul? I don't know. It's just always like, remember the emotional field of the animal is an effect on your chakra system during the full moon.
do get trapped in or
Like the emotional dude, like I'm in a bad mood because I'm dying. Like if you're sick and dying, like the emotions of the animal important, but not the most important thing.
or come contained in the flesh of the animal you eat, as shaman and healers have been telling us for a very long time. So unethical practices such as feeding animals like I just said, drugging animals like I just said, and containing them like I just said is a real concern because these practices also have a huge impact on planet Earth, which Really,
Again, also, I have the highest respect for Paul Chek. I'd love to talk to the guy. Like, the guy's brilliant, but like, he says a lot of silly things. I think he'd agree that this stuff, like, you should, it could be poked at. I mean, this video specifically has confused me at many points in my life. So I want people to like watch this and be like, wait, what are you talking about, Paul? How does that make any sense? So right now I'm on an all meat diet and I feel better than ever. And I actually only really feel amazing when I'm eating 90% meat. And I've done so for like almost a decade. So like, and I've run into issues from it. And I've fixed those issues. So there's more nuance. I agree. Like, yeah, toxins and stuff. Yes, I drink green tea. I take chlorella. I do things to detox my body.
needs our love and attention right now.
Because
And
also
when you
one thing
look at
is
the
the toxins in meat can build up. Okay, I'll give you a bite of steak. Come over here.
damage done by
Can
commercial
build up, and that can prevent our body to be able to deal with iron. And then you end up getting hemochromatosis, which makes the whole thing worse. So all the people talking about hemochromatosis on carnivore, I think that's what was going on largely. But like chlorella and green tea, I think honestly just fix it and just cycle onto carbs sometimes.
farming of every kind of animal and even birds. It's pretty shocking. If you go to The Ecologist, look up the journal The Ecologist and search around in there, and you'll get some pretty shocking information. So we have to remember that we must care for the earth. Commercial farming poisons the earth and the water by massive amounts of urinary release from the animals and fecal material being dumped off, and it sinks into the ground. And in many
No, urine and feces are good for the earth.
places where there's commercial farms, the groundwater is poisoned all around it. In some states, like North Carolina, where there's a lot of this type of growing, there's tremendous problems with water toxicity.
Yeah,
So the
I
drinking
agree. That's
water
where
can get very
pesticides
badly
and
contaminated.
other farms, not like
Um,
cows.
There's a
Cows
lot
are-
of chemicals being used on these animals that end up in the earth and end up then in somebody's food eventually. As I said, the poop is
You know more steak? There you go. No, you eat that one first. Go play Adam.
toxic, and sick animals are very, very well known to carry a lot of parasites. When people eat a lot of commercial food, they significantly enhance the likelihood that they're going to get a parasite infection. And in my experience,
More parasites are gotten from vegetables than meat. I think this is a lot of fear mongering. It's kind of irritates me. Okay, I'll get you a pear in a second. Um, say please. Okay. I'm gonna cut my daughter a pear, I guess, while I react to this. I don't know. Ah. Yeah, everyone cut the pear. Okay. So I think this is just a lot of Paul Chek. Basically fear mongering. This kind of irritates me, honestly. I think this whole video, like, he's not really telling you practical stuff to actually do. He's more trying to make you really confused and afraid so that you buy his products, which is kind of like, at least I think that's what it is. Like, and then I even bought his like eating course, and his eating course is just,
Calm down.
yep. I think I don't know.
Everybody calm down. Everybody calm.
There, eat your pear. So I don't know.
Oh,
I mean, I don't really understand how Paul Chek's like
Wait.
he probably has a certain type of person he's trying to help though, and this is probably what attracts that type of person. So it probably has less to do with some like you eat that. It's yummy.
Yeah.
Probably has less to do with Paul Chek
Mama.
being manipulative, and honestly just more to do with him trying to appeal to a specific type of person who has a specific kind of issue who relates to this specific kind of thing. Because it is really hard to actually, well, can be. It is and it isn't. Like, the first video I made, I didn't sleep for 19 years one. Is that's like my most popular video. It's the first video I ever made. I think it's just like the desire to help comes across. But to do that again and again and again, yeah, it's like beginner's luck. You have to recreate beginner's luck, but whatever.
The grand majority of people that are eating commercial foods in general have weak immune systems from all the toxicity in their bodies, and they run around from doctor to doctor getting pills often for trying to alleviate the symptoms that go hand in hand with eating too much flesh food in general, which is sort of a Western habit that has...
No, it's not. The Mongols eat exclusively meat. The Eskimos, like, I'd actually say it's like not the West that does that. So that's just an incorrect statement. I don't know, like, just blatantly incorrect information kind of irritates me. Like, oh, the Western, we eat too much flesh food. Like, no, actually, that's not even like plenty of other countries eat tons and tons of meat. Like, no, the West is not. We've actually reduced our meat consumption over the last 100 years. Like, this is not. This fear-mongering against meat has got to stop because meat is what makes people feel good. At least probably like half the population feel really good eating meat. Maybe half the population feel better eating less meat, but
led to a lot of money being made.
Probably a third. Like a third medium, third a lot of meat, third very little meat.
Off drugs, surgery, and alternative health care too, because so many people keep running around for help because they don't realize they're making themselves sick by eating sick animals and eating too much meat in general. Okay? Now, for those of you that think you may have parasite or fungal infection concerns, you can look at my DVD self-help program titled Healing Fungal and Parasite Infections, The Absolute Essentials. You can get the DVDs with the manual if you want to do it as a correspondence course, and you will learn how to identify if you have a fungal or parasite infection, and I will give you the absolute essentials that you need to understand to heal yourself from that, strengthen your immune system, and become much more aware of the dangers of living like most people who watch too much television. Now, some tips. Number one, meat is by far the most toxic thing that goes into most people's mouths when it comes.
That is a lie. That's just no. It's probably like alcohol, cigarettes, like bullshit, Paul. Take that back.
To diet. So when people approach me and say, Paul, I've read your book, How to Eat, Move, and Be Healthy, but how do I do that on my budget? I always tell them, if you have limited funds, always spend your money on the highest quality meat you can get. Organic, free-range meat, and not what I call fake free-range, where they just let the cows run around for the last few days, or where they say it's organic, but they feed them grains to fatten them up, and then stop feeding them grains just for the last.
I don't even know how much them eating grains matters. Like, it probably matters if you have like really, really, really sensitive, but I'm one of the most sensitive people I know, and I feel great. Long term, though, yeah, I mean, you want to eat the highest quality meat you can possibly eat. Long term, like, obviously, like, you want to live in an enlightened society where everyone, like, perfectly crafts, like, I don't know, like, like, the king goes and talks to the earthworms to make sure their digestive systems are working well. Like, that's the kind of place, but, like, we don't live there right now.
Last 90 days. I'm talking about meat raised by farmers and understand meat and understand animals and respect the earth and respect animals. And if you have to do a little research on your own and phoning up suppliers and asking, you can go to places, for example, U.S. Wellness Meats is an example of a place you can get high quality meat shipped to you. But ask the farmers, ask the vendors. If you go to a store, ask the buyer, where does this come from? Contact them and ask pointed questions. Or you're going to be asking pointed questions to a physician when you're sick or have a disease. So do it preventatively. Remember, an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. So highest quality meat you can get. Now, there can be very high quality meat available from local farmers that are not certified organic, that do not use chemicals. So your best place to go looking for that is farmers markets. And I've seen lots of great stuff. You can always tell when you're eating good meat. One, it feels good in you. Two, there's a definite depth, a richness, a completely different dimension of flavor and satiation that does not exist in commercially raised meats. Once you know that taste, I was raised on a farm, so I'm intimate with it. I don't care
God
what it
bless you,
says on the
Paul.
label
Glad you
within
were. I'm glad
seconds.
you were raised in a farm, so your brain works well enough to give us the information that allowed me to figure out how to get my brain to work well enough to figure out the rest of the stuff.
I know whether it's real or whether it's just another one of these bogus, fake organic certifications. So eat high quality meat, even if you have a low budget. Follow the directions in my book, How to Eat, Move, and Be Healthy, for cleaning produce properly, and always seek the best you can get with the money you can afford. And you can also look at Joe Rushton, one of my instructors, Joe Rushton's beautiful book called Rocket Fuel on a Budget. And that can give you a lot of great tips for eating the Eat, Move, and Be Healthy way on a low budget. Some of the common body reactions to eating too much.
So you see, I got this like fidgetiness. Like, yeah, I do. Like, there's probably. I think that like my excess fidgetiness is probably due to toxins in my blood, like heavy metals and stuff that are like moving out of my bloodstream because of the large amounts of saturated fat in this. And after, honestly, I'll probably just take it right now. I'm just gonna take some caffeine and chlorella.
Meat, no matter what the quality is. And this also includes fish. So anything with a set of eyeballs I'm talking about right now. One, energy tends to decrease as you get too much flesh food in your body. Too much undigested protein is not good. Two, mental clarity goes down. One of the reasons.
I'll be back. I'm gonna get my caffeine. Just a second. And I'm back. I've cut these sections out, but like you just skip ahead, so. Oh, and I got on these videos to be listened to in long car rides. Hi, Cat. It's my other daughter, Katarina. Chlorella. My basic games backpack that I won in the wrestling tournament in high school. Backpack. Caffeine. Then actually, I'm gonna get my herbal capsules too. I made some herbal capsules. Awesome. What's up, Katarina? So I stick these in a little pill bottle. I make these little herbal capsules. They have mucuna, cayenne, ginger. Mucuna, cayenne, ginger. Oh, and oregano and a little parsley. And I find these are amazing for my digestion, circulation, bodily energy, everything. I take those with chlorella and caffeine after eating, and it just, oh, wow. Like, I feel amazing. The basic idea is increases circulation. Hey, babe, making a video, so just keep it down a little bit. She's in the kitchen. Increases circulation, which basically like just moving toxins out of your tissues into your blood and then into your gut where they bind to the chlorella and get pooped out. I feel great doing that. So let's go back to reacting to Mr. Chek while I take my drugs.
The reason that these two happen is because you get too much toxins And some of the byproducts of breaking meat down can be toxic to the body. For example, clinically, when I'm looking at someone and I want to test to see if they're eating too much meat, I can run a test that tells me how much urinary indican there is. And that gives me an indication of how much meat they're able to handle or not. Also, remember, one of the byproducts of breaking meat down is uric acid. So if a person eats too much meat, they get uric acid in their body. It makes their joints ache and really puts a load on their detoxification system.
Yeah. My dad actually had gout, and then he went on a carnivore diet, and the gout went away. It's just nonsense he's saying.
So, decreased energy, decreased mental clarity, decreased digestive function. Most people today have weak digestion from eating cooked, shelved, packaged, enzymatically dead food. So your body can run out of enzymes. I found the average person that I coach by about the age 30 to 35 is already giving strong signs of enzyme deficiency and needs the support of a digestive enzyme.
Yeah, enzymes are really important. Fermented foods are really big for those. My wife's just like looking around trying to figure out what I'm doing. Making a reaction video to this, babe. So fermented foods are really good. Fermented foods, really. You need like fermented foods, like bacteria, I think. Gut bacteria, keeping your gut good, eating fermented foods is going to be how you keep your enzymes high. Enzyme supplements are also great, though. I've used those to rehab my gut.
And coaching on their diet so they can rehabilitate their stomach and their entire gut tube. So when it comes to the issue of enzyme deficiency, remember, always start your meal. If you have any digestive trouble whatsoever, always start your meal with as much raw, leafy green vegetables as you.
That's actually like the worst idea ever because that's going to kill your stomach acid. And then, oh my God, like that's actually just the worst advice you could ever give someone. Don't do that. Never do that.
You can, because that brings a lot of fresh enzymes.
Like, oh my, I literally did this when I was like really sick. I like followed this advice to the T and it made me worse. Don't ever do this.
Into your body, and it helps the body digest the meat more.
I think he just grew up on a farm, so his gut is so healthy that for some reason that works for him. Anyone else that'll destroy your gut, send you into like, send me into like autoimmune attacks is bad.
Effectively. Also remember, pineapple, even raw, very good raw.
All right, I'm gonna move this to a different room. My wife is setting up, feeding the kids at the kitchen table. I'm not gonna be able to make this video. There, honestly, I will just end this, and then we'll have part 2 tomorrow. So 14 minutes and 36 seconds. We're gonna wrap this up for today, and then tomorrow, tune in for the next part 2 of Slow Death by Meat, or Paul Chek becomes hysterical for no reason. Not hysterical, but Paul Chek exaggerates things a lot. I love you, Paul Chek, but this video's got a lot of shit in it.